Welcome back to Grassroots Media, and welcome to this year's edition of the Terry's Flooring Sam Broyles Show, where we cover everything on the court with the Chucky Doak Black Knights basketball team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Sam Broyles. Coach, how are we doing today?
I've been better.
It's a little cold outside.
I
think there's a little crud going around too.
From what you say, 80 Tuesday to today, what we in the 30s?
43 earlier today when I left and came here, and then I got in my car to come here again, and I saw some flurries outside.
The wind chill's got to be in the 20s at least. It feels like it anyway.
It's fortunate enough if you're still playing football at this time of year because you're in the quarterfinals, but man, I wouldn't want to be out there playing football on Friday night these last 3 weeks.
Especially get hit.
Yeah.
My goodness, I don't know how they do it.
Luckily, basketball's an inside sport.
That's right.
And you started your season on Tuesday night with a big win over Washburn to kick the season off right. Before we get into that, though, I want to talk about the team a little bit because, of course, we did sit down and do a preview interview, which you can also read if you go to our website and pay for the subscription. But I want to talk about the team a little bit more on here because the players like, of course, whenever they get their name called and they get talked about. So we've got a new roster here. It's basically a brand new team. That's something that I think everybody knows about by now, is it's a brand new team. We have one or two from last year's varsity roster that carried over into this year, but with 10 seniors, you lost virtually everybody. It's going to be a year of kind of rebuilding and kind of adjusting to a new roster. So take me through the roster and tell me what we've got this year.
Well, that's what I was telling you the other night. You know, it's the first time in my career of coaching that all 5 starters, it was their first start as far as the high school, playing at the high school level.
Yeah.
And, I've still got 2 different lineups we could go with where 2 more would make their first start. But, for now, I was telling those guys, they ought to be excited. It's definitely different when you have all those seniors that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Your practices are different. Just everything has been different, But at the same time, like Gage Crum, senior last year, his younger brother Gavin probably played one of the better games for us the other night. He shot 8 for 11 from the floor.
That's great.
It's awesome, and you're not. You want them to have nights like that, but that, that's better than anything I could ask for out of him. And of course, Rylan had a pretty good night shooting too. We mainly our defense set the tone, especially third quarter. We forced a lot of turnovers, so we were able to get easy baskets. Layups, of course, off of our press and stuff, which helped.
Like the third quarter, it shows here you had 24 points in the third. You had 22 in the whole first half combined.
24 in the third. That's just Dom. I forget how many steals he had in that third and how many points. But it really changed the game. It kind of widened it to where, took a lot of pressure off of them.
Yeah. And the second half, you were able to stretch it out too, because at halftime you only had 22 points, and at halftime it was a 22-14 score. And then you come out with those 26 points in the third quarter, those 24 points in the third, and then you had 18 in the fourth quarter, which almost doubled or almost equaled what you had in the first half too. So a great second half we go through here, as you mentioned. The great night from Gavin Crum with 22 points, Dom Atchison with 17. A lot of those in the second half. He only had 4 in the first and came alive in the second half. And then Rylan Grindstaff too. He had 9 of his 14 in the third quarter. And those were your 3 players in double figures. And we've talked about how it's kind of a brand new team. You're starting a brand new starting lineup. So how hard is it as a head coach, I want to ask, to kind of adjust to that? Because I know that's something that everybody knew you would have to adjust to, but how have you kind of processed that adjustment?
Well, at the same time, it's a total different team. We don't have the height that we had, so our style of play is going to have to be different. So we're having to change a lot. I'm having to change, adapting with, the times too. And, that's a work in progress. You can't have, what we had, 4 or 5 practices, a couple of weeks, well, more than that, I guess. But at the same time, we've played 1 game, and there's a lot that we can work on to get better. But just like with the different offenses and stuff, they're learning. It's going to take time before they understand everything that they can do within that offense, on their own.
Yeah. And going through the lineup too, that's something that's interesting is I don't know if we mentioned it, but if we did, I'm going to mention it again because it's crazy how you had 10 seniors last year, and now you have none. It's kind of crazy how you had such a big senior class, and then you had a junior class last year that was empty that turns into an empty senior class this year with a bunch of juniors.
And that's the same way with the team we played, Washburn, they didn't have any seniors. So,
Okay.
I think that helped us as far as, getting over the fact being nervous. Those guys, after the first quarter, I felt like we settled in, especially the second half, and played a lot harder and played with confidence. You saw the points rise in the second half, and a lot of that has to do with confidence.
Absolutely, and coming out of that halftime, having a great performance, which led to the first win the other night over Washburn by the score of 64 to, I think it was 37?
39.
39. But going through the roster one time, I wanted to name off every player, that large junior class, of course, that we talked about. You've got Ben Palazzo, Gavin Crum, Gavin Murray, Blake Lippard, Gage Hill, Dom Atchison, and help me with this name, Hans
Malecki.
Malecki, okay.
But, a couple of those guys there, they're homeschooled too. So, it's their first time really playing at a high school level.
And it's hard. We talked about how it's an adjustment.
too.
Yeah, it's an adjustment for you, but it's an adjustment for everybody too, because a lot of these players that are on your varsity roster now barely gained any varsity minutes in the past, and if they did, a lot of it was at the end of games, and I think you barely saw any of them touch the floor, maybe second, third quarter in meaningful minutes. So it's an adjustment period for everybody, not just you, not just the varsity, but the junior varsity too, because we go through here talking about the sophomore class with Bradley Caldwell, Grant Bishop, Ryland Grindstaff, and then you look at the two freshmen in Mason Henderson and Chance Malone. So it's really an adjustment for, I think, everybody with this Chucky Doak team this year.
Oh, it is. And, just like, Ryland, he can be special. He's really learning, the game himself.
Yeah.
Learning the difference of, he's got such a nice jump shot. Once he learns, just pull up, take it instead of going on in there and, against bigger people. Do what you do well. We talked about that during the game. And Dom, he's just coming off of, a broken collarbone, fractured in football, missed 3/4 of his football season. And, he had 17, and he didn't shoot like he's capable of shooting. And just because he's only been back to practice, a handful of practices. So he's going to get better as the season goes on, too. And, you take Palazzo, Ben, he's learning too. As we go on, hopefully our posts will be more involved within our offenses and hopefully rebounding. But right now we got two guards that can, rebound within post we have. And that's not a negative thing on those posts. That's just how good they jump and how good they could, get to the boards. They're quick off their feet.
And I think after the first win on Tuesday night, I'm excited for the season. I'm sure you are now, being able to see them go out there and finally play a sanctioned game for the first time. And the good news is you get your first home game coming up soon on Saturday with Hancock County in your last Hall of Champions game. Before we talk about that too much, though, we need to go ahead and, of course, get a break in and get a word from our sponsors first. So we'll be right back in just a minute to preview that game against Hancock County here on Grassroots Media.
Pizza Inn's new Right Way Buffet is open and ready for you and your family. Now with new garlic buttery crust and stuffed crust pizza, along with salads and desserts. It's the best part of your day. The all-day, everyday buffet. Only at Pizza Inn Greenville.
At Corner Pond, the friendly and knowledgeable staff has the experience necessary to help you out regardless the need. Have an item of value you'd like to pawn or sell? Corner Pond can help. They pawn numerous items of value, including firearms, tools, ammunition, silver, coins, and much more. When you walk through their doors, you'll find well-stocked shelves full of electronics, gaming systems, fishing and hunting equipment, car audio and accessories. And don't forget about the room full of guitars and basses and amplifiers, or their outside lawn and garden equipment. Corner Pond is a case knife dealer and carries numerous used knives as well. Stop by and let the friendly staff at Corner Pond help you today. At 432 East Bernard Avenue, Greenville, Tennessee.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Terry's Flooring Sam Broyles Show, where we cover everything on the court with the Chucky Doak Black Knights basketball team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Sam Broyles. So you've got, of course, Hancock County coming up this week. That's your first home game. We'll talk about it first. It's your last Hall of Champions game. Yeah. It's brand new for these new sets of players because, like you said, you started 5 new players for the first time in your coaching career. They're going to start their first home game for the first time in their high school careers also. It'll be against Hancock County on Saturday. A lot of excitement built around that game. How excited are you for them to touch the floor at home for the first time?
Oh, very excited, and I'm curious to see what happens.
Yeah.
How they going to react in front of their own, own crowd, own student body, because they didn't have that over there at Washburn, of course. So I'm curious to see how they play in front of them, and they're going to make mistakes. I've got to learn to be patient, and that's a different. That's another thing as far as trying to, adjust myself. You can't be as hard on this group as you might have been on other ones in the past, but giving them some freedom and to making them understand that if they do turn, it's okay. We just don't want to continue that,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you're going to make mistakes. The thing I'm looking for, are you going to get better? Are you going to make us better? And that's all I can hope for.
If there's any time to make a mistake, it'd be now in a non-conference Hall of Champions game. But you've got Hancock County, and it's a team that early in the season like this, you really don't know what to expect out of a lot of teams, because we just joked about it before we continued with the second part. You don't have any film to watch on teams. You have one game of film to watch if they've even played their first game. Some teams are kicking off tonight, and I don't know about Hancock County. They may kick off their season with you all on Saturday, so you really don't know a lot of what to expect from them.
They do play tonight, and I think they've already played more, and they look pretty good from what I've seen. They've got some good athletes. One, he's either a freshman or he's a sophomore. He got hurt last year, tore up his knee. I'm not sure what his name is, but they say he can flat out play. So, how big is he?
Yeah.
When you look at the film, it's hard to tell, how big these kids are, compared to who they're playing.
And then going forward into next week also, once you get that game with Hancock County out of the way on Saturday, it's Thanksgiving next week. So, of course, on Thanksgiving break, you've always got a Thanksgiving Classic to play in, and you're once again in the Hardee's Classic. And you start off with a very tough draw this year. You're on the very bottom of the bracket, and the good news is you play in the main event on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. I think a little bit of the bad news is you play the host team, who's going to be playing on their home court in front of their home fans in a state tournament team from last year in Crockett High School. So looking at the Hardee's Classic, you had talked about it with me off air, but this is one of the best pools of teams that I've seen in this Hardee's Classic.
And you look down through there, it's just like our conference this year. Our conference is really good. And, being able to compete, just like trying to compete in this, it'll help us as far as facing, the teams in this that we'll see in our conference as we move forward.
And, of course, you've got South Green in your conference that's in the bracket also. They're on the opposite side, so you probably wouldn't see them until the last day if that opportunity even presents itself. But you go through the teams. Cott County plays South Green, Boone plays Providence. On your side of the bracket, University plays Clinton, and then you play Crockett. And you look at Crockett, win or lose, you're playing University or Clinton. Clinton's a team that's over there past Knoxville, and when you get around that Knoxville area, the talent pool is a lot deeper. And then University, a team that went to the Final Four 2 years ago, that's bringing back some of those same youngins that are now the leaders on that team as seniors now.
They were juniors and now they're seniors. Now they lost Murphy, but at the same time, they've got all those other, I believe there's 4 juniors that started maybe, if I remember right. So UH is going to be good. You go down that list. I'm not sure about Daniel Boone. But, Cock County was young last year. Are they going to be able to give South Green a game? South Green's still got enough, they've still got size.
Yes.
Even at
very
the point
much.
guard position. What more can he ask for? He's got a very good team, and he's done a good job with them. So, it seems like the Roderick boy's been there forever. But I could see them making another run to win this, and even down the road later.
And then looking at it too, well, I got to say first off, Coach Donahue mentioned it to me, and I got to pick on you just a little bit because I can't let you go just completely free. This is the 35th edition of the Hardee's Classic. He wanted me to mention that you were the first MVP of the inaugural Hardee's Classic all the way back when?
90, I guess, was the first year. It's the 35th year of it.
Yeah.
It tells you I'm getting older. I guess the best way to put it.
It's something we can't avoid in life.
No, you can't. But we did win the first one ever.
That's awesome.
We had a good team. That team went to state. We was the first boys team to go to state, Chickadoke High School. So, and that kind of set the stage for us to make a run. So, but that has been a few years.
It's awesome to know that you compete in the Hardee's Classic about every year now. I know this is the 4th year I've been a part of Grassroots Media now, and you've been in the Hardee's Classic, I think, every year that I've seen you play in a Thanksgiving tournament. It's awesome to know that you were the first MVP of the tournament. Chucky Doak took home the first tournament championship. Hopefully you can take home the 35th edition of the championship next week, too.
We had some good players on that team. We had Chad Molker, 6'8", got all state that year. So Fess Hall was on that team, that referee now, and he's 6'4". I mean, we were big. Had another player, Jeff Darnell, was 6. We were about as big as any college team around here.
It's impressive for a high school team in those classes.
I was the smallest one, running the point. I had to run the point because I was more of a shooter. But that year they moved me to point, and I do remember that.
Classes like that don't come around often, but that was a very special class. Do you all have a banner or anything in the gym of that class?
Yeah, 91. There's a picture out here too of that team.
Okay.
It may have the names with it.
Okay, I didn't know.
I don't think the banner's got the names.
That's a team that needs to be recognized here at Chucky Doak with the run to the state tournament that you mentioned and the Hardee's Classic Championship, along with the first MVP. You need to have that MVP trophy out here somewhere.
Darnell Donahue needs to watch it.
We'll get him back next week. We'll find some way to jab him next week, and it'll be a continuing trend. But, Coach, I believe that's all I've got this week. You've got Hancock County on Saturday, and then you open up the Hardee's Classic with a Crockett on Tuesday. So until then, Coach, I appreciate you for sitting down with me once again. Stay warm because it's cold outside.
It's going to snow, too.
It will.
It
looks
may
like
snow
it will.
us out. Hancock may not be able to come across the mountain.
You never know.
I know it.
But that's all we've got this week. Thank you for watching this week's edition of the Terriers Flooring Sam Broyles Show. Look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.